Hello and welcome to the PianoMan'sLibrary. I have read a few books this week, so thought I'd share them with you. So the first one that I finished was Patrick Stewart's Making It So. This is his memoir, which was published just a couple of years ago. And I am a Trekkie by no means, but The Next Generation did hold my attention for a while. And it was mostly because of Mr. Stewart and the Picard character, which he seemed to really elevate the series. So it was very interesting to find out what his childhood was like, what things were like in the theater, because he spent many years in the Shakespeare Theater, and how he ended up as Picard in space. So it was really good as far as the memoirs go. He brought some humor to it, and he didn't just say all the good points of his life, and he didn't make himself out to be perfect. He had his flaws, and especially he mentioned with regards to how his first two marriages ended. So yeah, it was very interesting. And I have not watched any of the programming or anything that he's, or films that he has done since The Next Generation. So it was interesting to hear about some of those, even though I still probably will never watch them, but that's okay. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think I gave it 4 stars. The next one that I read, that was a library book, by the way. The next one that I read was also a library book, Mary Higgins Clark's Mount Vernon Love Story. Now, this was her very first book, so it's much different than the suspense books that we know and I have started to like. And this book was originally titled Aspire to the Heavens because that was one of the popular sayings of George Washington's mother for their family. And so in a novel that is about George Washington and Martha, not as much about Martha. She went on in her note at the beginning that she wanted to help get away from all the rumors that George Washington was totally hung up on his friend's wife. And yet she wrote about that an awful lot. So it was okay. It wasn't great. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars. And part of that might have been because she dissed John Adams a little, and I like John Adams. So, but it was okay for her first book. I also found out that she wrote history lessons for on the radio before she started writing, and that's how she ended up working her way into doing this one. So that was good. The next book, Anna Karenina. I finally finished. What did I think? Well, it's not my cup of tea. It's not. It is about adultery and the effects of adultery on the persons involved, as well as their spouses, how it affects their children, how it affects their families, how it affects the society that you are involved in. And it's not just Anna Karenina. I'll read you on page 3. I'll just read you a little bit. Stefan Arkadievich was a truthful man concerning his own self. He could not deceive himself into believing that he repented of his behavior. He could not now be repentant that he, a 34-year-old, handsome, amorous man, did not feel amorous with his wife, the mother of 5 living and 2 dead children, who was only a year younger than he. He repented only that he had not managed to conceal things better from her. But he felt all the gravity of his situation and pitied his wife, his children, and himself. Perhaps he would have managed to hide his sins better from his wife had he anticipated that the news would have such an effect on her. He had never thought the question over clearly, but vaguely imagined that his wife had long suspected him of being unfaithful to her and was looking the other way. It even seemed to him that she, a worn-out, aged, no longer beautiful woman, not remarkable for anything, simple, merely a kind mother of a family, ought in all fairness to be indulgent. It turned out to be quite the opposite. Yes, so that was on page 3, and it took me a long time to get through that, to get past that point. But I did, and remarkably, that marriage lasted through the end of the book. So, one little spoiler, okay? But it's not really a big part overall. Yes, and he is actually Anna's brother, so there's that. But Tolstoy did do a good job exploring all the ways that it was harmful. And he threw in a couple of little conversations about religion in the middle and then at the end. And it was interesting to see, how the different characters would feel about that. So, but it was good. And I think, even though I never anticipate ever reading this again, I think I still gave it 4 stars, just because he did get the message across and stuff. So there's that one. And then, because I heard about Private Eye July, I think it's called, and I had this book on my TBR for one of the prompts on the bingo. And this is A Suitable Job for a Woman by Val McDermid. And this is Inside the World of Women Private Eyes. This is a nonfiction. And it does exactly that. The only problem that I had with this book, even though it looks fairly new, it is an older book. And I think it came out, it was first published in 1999. So a lot of the information with licensing and regulating and a lot of it. Oh, and in technology, and it would be very, very outdated. Even for me, I know nothing about technology. Even I recognize this. So, yes, the author interviewed, I think it was 42 different women from across the United States and the UK who were private eyes, and and they gave stories. Sometimes she put their written stories directly into here, directly into the book, and some were not very well written. But, and then sometimes she said what they said for their stories. So there was a variance in there, which made it kind of nice. But, and some of the stories were very interesting. But overall, it's outdated. So unless you are interested in the actual stories from the private investigators, then it wouldn't be very useful. So, but I read it and I met another prompt. So for these books, this one met the prompt black and white cover. The Anna Karenina book met the prompt intimidating read. And even though I don't find books intimidating, this was just a topic that just didn't impress me much, and so I knew that it would take something to actually get me into it. So that prompt. This is also a big book for Big Book Summer. This was just because I meant no prompts anywhere. And then Patrick Stewart's memoir is over 400 pages, so it is also a big book. So that is that. Now, I just did a big book haul, so I'm not going to wait around, hold on to some books for another one, because I have things that I want to get into. So last week, a friend was over and she recommended this book to me, Miracles at Tenwick. The Life of Dr. Ernie Story, I think. And he was a doctor in Kenya who started a missionary hospital, and it has some lovely pictures in the middle. Yes, so that I thought would be very interesting to read. I didn't have lots of books for my math prompt on the bingo, and I decided to get this one here, The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Agawa, I think is how her name is pronounced. It has lots of actual math in it, but it's also supposed to be a very good story. So this is one that I know I can actually get through. So I'm happy to have that one. And then when I was at the Dollar Tree the other day, they have some books. So I found this one, Murder, She Wrote. The episode is Debonair in Death. And I wanted to find out what Jessica Fletcher was up to. So according to Mitzi at Mitzi Reads and Writes, they did make a few books from season 1. And so this must be one of the books. I thought that that would be some nice, good, light reading when I need it. So that is what's been keeping me busy. So what are you reading? And have you read any of these books? What do you think? And if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because I know I have a number of people that watch that haven't subscribed yet. So if you want to, that's fine. I will talk to you again soon. Goodbye.